right, everybody. Welcome to Omnic Lab. I'm your host, Rob May, and this week we have episode 92 coming your way. All the way from Japan is where I'm hailing from, but we have a special guest this week joining my man Andres from Georgia. What's up, Andres?
What's up? What's up? Glad to be here. Today we have a very special episode, and I cannot wait.
We have your boy, Lucio, for the Going Deep episode this week. And we have a special guest, Miss Rammy. Rammy, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing today?
I'll do great.
Pretty great. Pretty great. So Rammy, she's here to help us with a amazing hero mastery and has come very prepared for this, let me tell you. Has read some user questions, some backlog questions that we've had since we did the Lucio episode as being one of our first hero guides way back before the rework. So we're excited to get this updated and bouncing around wall climbs, booping people off the map, and happy to have a repeat top 500 and Grandmaster player to help us out. So let's get into a quick couple updates. In a couple hours, we'll be rolling out our February 23rd game night for the Omnic Lab, which is open to all skill levels. You guys can join in. We'll give you an update next week as to how it went. I'm excited. Got some cool opportunities with some new people. I've heard rumors from some people in the community this last 2 weeks where people are like, we're going to try to break Discord this time. We're going to get more than 3 lobbies. So I was like, okay, well, good luck. You're going to have to invite a lot of people to do that. So, yeah, we got death matches coming in early afternoon, according to our admin, Crispy. And then furthermore, we'll go into the competitive thing that you guys always like doing. Turns out having a competitive strategic podcast isn't very conducive for finding fun-oriented players. They just want to be competitive. So
yeah, they just want to battle each other to their deaths.
I think that's just Overwatch in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so we have a sponsor yet again. We have my man Ben, aka I Need Peeling, in Discord with Top Score Solutions. He's offering fee business consultations for people in the esports fields, looking for aspiring coaches, starting teams, if you're developing apps or services, trying to boost subscriber bases, or you just want to work in esports in general, you can visit the website topscoresolutions.com. Find him on Twitter with Topscore Esports tag, or you can join his Discord server, which is linked on both of those pages. He has a master's in sports management and business marketing experience. His services are free, and they will stay that way as long as the demand sticks at the current level and allows it. And I must say, a little announcement for even Andres, who may be a little bit aware of this. I actually just took advantage of Ben's service this last week, and I have a potential trial membership as a coach with a team right now that's trying out for the open playoffs. So
Nice.
I'm very new to the coaching thing. I'm excited to work with them. I'm meeting them tomorrow mid-game night at some point. So We'll see how it goes. I've been doing some coaching for some other people in our Discord. Rainer Wilkie, shout out to a patron of ours that I did team coaching for his just casual fun league. And then also Yanthrax's corporate league. They're playing another team who apparently just hired an analyst for their team. They're
that's awesome.
in this business league.
They have an Overwatch corporate league? That sounds like a great
what I wanna know.
company.
Sounds legit, right?
Yeah, Yanthrax is doing it right, dude.
Yeah. I mean, they said that they play Google next week, and Google's got 3 Overwatch teams.
What?
But
That's
it's like
awesome.
it's like not the entire branch of Google, right? It's just like one branch that happens to be nearby, right?
But still, though, that's kind of cool.
That's
It's like,
awesome.
yeah, we
Isn't
play
that
for the
nutty?
Google Overwatch team.
I mean, it makes sense. You have traditional sports, you have pickup leagues for kids, and then you have, people trying to try hard for Overwatch Open. You have the upper leagues and minor leagues. I mean, this is just basically a big, what's it called? I guess your local church softball league type thing, right?
Yeah,
you have that, and then you have other stuff. It's
And that's
kinda
kind
similar
of that's
vein.
kind of where I have my aim sets to. I want to be one of those like mid-30s guy just playing Overwatch League with the mid-30s-year-olds.
I mean, let's be honest. The people at Google are not going to be fielding 3 baseball teams, but they can field 3 Overwatch teams.
Well, yeah.
All right. Closing out here with our partnerships, we've got the Omnic Meta, who has the PC meta report from the 8th and the console meta report from the 15th. If you're looking for hero frequency rates and win rates, you're just being a stat junkie overall, Omnic Meta is a place to go. Go check out Switch Fox's stuff over there. You can also find Andres's Overwatch League show that he does with Blazing Bob in the chat here, as well as Aid Marrow, and also new edition Melarina for the Overwatch League recap on Twitter and their new feed. All right. Enough of Rob's ramblings in the beginning. Let's get with Rammy. Okay, so Rammy, please tell us about yourself, kind of your background in gaming, what brought you here, what you like about Overwatch, and then what brought you to Lucio.
So I'm Rammy. I've been playing PC games probably since I was 4 or 5. Started mostly with pretty much just Source games, Half-Life, Half-Life 2. On from there, played a little bit of Quake. My PC ended actually up breaking. So I moved to console, played Halo, played the crap out of those, and eventually at some point, around Halo 4, I got back on PC, got back into the scene. Started playing CSGO, moved my way up in the rankings. It was a lot of fun, and the community, the multiplayer aspect of games is actually what kept me playing. Like, before that, I was just mostly playing single-player games, and while that is fun, every game is more fun with friends, and so when I got into the competitive aspect of a multiplayer game, that's really what keeps me going in a game now. So, Overwatch, CSGO, stuff like that, that's my cup of tea at this point. So, it's just been a lot of competitive games at the current moment.
Did you start out on console at all?
No. Like I said, I had a PC at first. The problem is I was like 8, so like my PC, if it broke, it's not like I had money to fix it, and it's not like I had
Dell box
or the knowledge.
Yeah,
you're just looking at all these like things. You're like, what is a PC?
Well, no, I mean like I actually built. Well, I built my first PC at like 4.
Oh, very cool. So was
yeah.
your family into tech, or your dad, your mom into tech?
My father was into tech. My mother was an optician at the time. But essentially, like, we had all these spare parts because he was building. What was he building? He was building security servers. What he was doing is he was a private investigator, but also a cop. So what he was doing is he was setting up surveillance systems and servers and all that. So we had spare server hardware that I could just use, and nobody would care. It wasn't a great PC, but hey, I mean,
you at least had a PC. That's important to say. When I was growing up, we had like this old coffee maker for a PC that, I don't know, I think it ran with a hamster and a wheel inside of it. And it had like Windows 98 or something like that. You could play like Lemmings. That was about it.
Lemmings. Oh no.
Good old hard drive was double floppy disks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
you gotta start somewhere,
I had the good old opportunity of playing Half-Life before I turned 8, and wow, I love that game. That's cool. What got me into
awesome.
That's what got me into PC gaming hardcore, was Half-Life and the story and the mods and all that. That was it.
And you were into like first-person shooters from the get-go, right? Like Half-Life, you got Halo there.
Yeah. So what was funny is Halo actually got me more into the competitive aspect than any of like the Half-Life series or anything like TF2 and CSS. Because when I got my 360, I got into LAN parties. And that was my first real taste of trying to beat people. Was going to a LAN party, trying to
get a taste of like how fast the responsive stuff was, right?
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking old school, sit in a room with like 60 people on 16 different CRTs.
Yep.
Bring your own controller. It doesn't get like that anymore. I miss that.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely got a glimpse of that when I used to live in the States. I went to a LAN day where we had just like a casual Hearthstone tournament, and Smash people were there. And that community is so cool. Smash guys are the best. Like, they're just the best.
They like to party.
So I actually help run a local set of Smash tournaments. So
nice.
Yeah,
so you've been in the competitive scene all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
The Melee scene is the most fascinating esport to me.
It's also the most like intense, I would say.
It is very intense,
and durable. It's been around for a long time.
Against all odds, it still exists.
Yeah.
How about
they just announced that it's going to be back at Evo? Yeah, so
there you go.
Still I think we can move on.
How about Overwatch itself? What got you into Overwatch, and how it became your main game? Because that's what you play the most right now, right?
Yep. So I actually got peer pressure in Overwatch. What happened is I think I had a couple friends, like 5 or 6 of them, and we would just queue in CS:GO, and we'd play together. We were friends IRL, cool stuff. They said that Overwatch was coming out. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm still gonna be playing or CS:GO rather, and they were like, yeah, well, if you're doing that, you're playing alone because we're all getting Overwatch. So, I was like, oh, okay.
Dang.
So I guess I got to get this game now, and I
Or
did.
nothing.
I got it on. I got it on launch day. I played Diva throughout, and I just whooped all of my friends' asses.
Just back when Diva was truly busted.
Yeah, no, like season 1 Diva was actually just really good, and then in season 2, I think they decided to buff her, and I was just like, who asked for this? But
it was like they were like, well, if you can only pick one Diva, we have to make her stronger, because before it was just 4 of them stalling the cart, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. God, I remember it was I want to say it was like double Rhine, double Diva, or no, double Rhine, double Tracer, and double Lucio was the meta at the time, and that was just crazy. At least I want to say
like
at my
monkeys
rank.
and divas and yeah.
Double Rhine, man, that was a
Nobody,
long time ago.
I got placed like 40 SR season 1, so like it wasn't that high up. So we probably were doing it wrong. But
we were doing it wrong.
We were probably doing it wrong. Let's be honest here. I think they got the double Lucio right. I think they got that one right.
Okay.
But I mean, I had gotten better than a lot of my friends, and while that worried me, I kind of wanted to climb and see how far I could go. Season 1 got placed 40 SR, finished 61. I want to say something around there.
Nice, that's a pretty good improvement.
Sick.
Yeah. And season 2, I got placed low plat, climbed all the way up to Masters, finished Diamond, which I thought was pretty good. And I was like, well,
sweet.
let me see if I can touch GM. Next season, I'm 20 SR off top 500.
Oh, nice. It was a steady climb for you.
Yeah. And
so when did the Lucio love came into being?
So when Diva got hard nerfed, Lucio love. So when Diva got hard nerfed, I essentially thought about it. I was like, I can't play Diva like this anymore. Like I'd go in, head first, charging in, and you couldn't do that with Diva's defense matrix anymore. You just couldn't. Or not even her defense matrix. It was just they changed her health and armor around at first. And it made her a lot less tanky. She was more DPS than anything at that point.
I remember that.
So I looked at it, I evaluated it, I was like, yeah, I can't really do that anymore. This is just gonna make me fall. I want to go as far as I can. I know I can keep top 500. So I gotta figure this out. And I go back throughout my previous seasons, and I look at all the characters I had to fill as, because I obviously just didn't one trick Diva. I was a nice guy, I filled. And I look and I see Lucio. I was like, yeah, he's kind of fun. Because what I did early on with Lucio is I just found jump to scroll wheel, because I'm an old CS player. We do bunny hopping all the time.
Yeah.
So you would just
a natural transition, yeah.
Yep, and you would just bind mouse wheel, jump, and go. Mid map, and that was nice. But so that's what I put that on Lucio, and when I started doing that in like Diamond, people were like, "Whoa, how are you going so fast?" I'm like, I don't know. And as I move up, I realize not everybody realizes this. Like, not everybody thought about putting it on scroll wheel.
No, and that's one of the reasons why we have you here, so you can dispel all the myths and tell people how they can actually take the most advantage of Lucio.
Yeah. But that's what got me into Lucio, essentially.
Awesome.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's take a quick second to thank our sponsors, and we'll get right into the Lucio content. So the first thing here, and the last thing in the sponsorship, is our Diamond sponsors on Patreon. Special thanks to Ben K, Chris the Playa, Good Apollo, Golden Soldier A, Great Root Bear, Kip, Lysum, Magic, Never Clutch, Not Meta, Jan Jankel, Ricky Ticky, Shazir, Top Score Solutions, of course, and Tragic Zach, alongside of our brand new patron and also Diamond patron, Jeff B, this week. Thank you guys for supporting us at such a high monetary value. Seriously, it helps us get to BlizzCon. And that may seem like kind of an average thing, but when you're traveling internationally It racks up so fast, and y'all don't have any idea how expensive those hotel rooms are. Let me tell you.
Let's not even talk about that right now.
If they were expensive for TwitchCon, I can't imagine what they're going to be like at BlizzCon.
You don't even want to know.
I don't.
know.
So anyways, thank you guys. You basically make the show go round. You make us pay. You basically enable us to cover every single cost that we have for our website right now. I've had to replace a keyboard already this year because coffee and keyboards don't mix. I found,
but coffee and podcasts do.
Yeah, I was gonna say coffee and podcast. Yes.
There's a very thin line between the three of these things, and it's real dangerous to the electrical side. So let's talk about some Lucio before I do it again. Rammy, we got some basic stuff we should probably cover for the bronze, silver, low tier players, or maybe even the free weekend people that haven't even jumped into comp yet. So I'm gonna jump through, breaking down just what the abilities are, and then you can kind of walk us through the kit, okay? So we have 200 health. The passive for Lucio is the wall ride. I'm not going to go in depth on it right now. It's going to basically be a very core movement function we'll cover in a little bit. We also have the sonic amplifier. That's the name of the gun. The gun fires 4 shots at a time, 20 damage each, and they move really slow. Andres has called them little jello balls of death. And we also have the sound wave, which is the boop. It is basically a short shotgun blast that does a 25 damage round, but has a frontal cone pushback. And that will use 4 shots and has an 8-meter range and a 4-second cooldown. Crossfade is basically the button that lets you swap songs. And the 2 songs are healing and speed. Speed is 30% speed. Healing is about 16 and a quarter health to allies and about 12 and a quarter health to you. There is no cooldown for this, but there's a slight animation between switching songs. Amp it up basically triples whatever your song is on currently. So speed goes to 70, and the cooldown is 12 seconds, by the way. And then the healing to allies goes up to almost 47 per second, and then 35 per second for yourself. And that has a 10-meter range, and you can see this by a giant ring. Basically, the circus around whatever Lucio's doing will get affected by whatever he's doing on his current song. And then Sound Barrier is his ultimate, which basically gives you 500 shield. But there's a caveat. The shield has a 30-meter range when it's initiated. So if you're out of line of sight or you're kind of blocked by something, you won't get it as an ally. And then there's a little wind-up. You have to jump and land before it actually initiates it. And then as a 6-second duration with a very fast tick down rate, which means even if nobody's shooting you, the shields will expire over time. However, you can be healed from your min to max on the health bar while the shields are still active. That's kind of the basics. Rammy, is there anything I missed here? There's definitely a lot more things we're going to cover here, but what do you want to dive in here for kind of your bread and butter basics for people jumping in Lucio for the first time?
So with Lucio, something to keep in mind is that you have a drawn circle on the floor that you can see, your teammates can see, that your enemies cannot see. That is your area of effect. That is what if they're in this circle, they're being affected by either your heals or your speed, or a mix of the two. What you have to keep in mind is keep your teammates, as many of them, in that circle as possible, and that moves around with you. It's what, 10 meters, I think.
I believe so. Mm-hmm.
So
I will confirm it. It says 10 meters right there. Cool.
So if you take, it's something to keep in mind always. It's just a basic with Lucio is keep your teammates in that circle as much as you can. That's.
I was gonna say it's a good thing to internalize that circle, even though you can visually see it. It's a good thing to have a notion for how big it is, so that you can always have a optimal positioning, like you said, and try to encompass as many teammates as you can.
Mm-hmm. Something to help with that is to try get a teammate on the very edge of that circle. Look how small they are in comparison to objects around you. That'll give you a good guide for how close you need to stay to people. So you can keep them in that circle.
Nice, yeah, that's a good way to do it. Let's talk a little bit about
on the verticality of that really quick before Andres transitions us, because the verticality does affect the range.
Yes. My thing is, I always thought it was a cylinder. I believe it's actually a sphere. The actual AOE.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not sure on it. I haven't studied that, but as a general guideline, stay twice as close if you're going aerial at all times. Just stay a little bit closer if you're going up in the air, because that way you don't have to. That's an easy way to compensate. Is the way I see it.
Sure.
Alrighty, let's talk a little bit about why picking Lucio over some of the other supports that you have in the game, right? We have Moira, we have Mercy, we have Anna. Why do we pick Lucio instead of the other heroes? What does he bring to the table that the other heroes can't?
Well, the biggest thing is, so when you're going up, when you're saying, picking against a Moira or a Mercy, you have to keep in mind that Sound Barrier, his ultimate, is a much better defensive ult than either of those two. Those are more of offensive ults or, very weak defense ults on the case of Moira. Another reason to pick Lucio would be if you need the ability to push in very quickly, push out very quickly, take very quick fights. He's very good with that. He's very good at getting people in, getting people out, and keeping people alive during the fight. Just not, he's not a very good defense support. He's all right. He's not the best. But for something like that, I mean, a Zenyatta would be better paired with maybe a Mercy or a Moira in that case, I would say. Like, Sound Barrier is a great defensive ult, but his kit's not really... Outside of that, his kit's not very good for defending, unless we're talking 2CP or King of the Hill.
Right, and I think you nail it right in the head right there, because Lucio's kit is, like you said, it's meant for engaging, right? It can take your team from one position to the other and close the gap very quickly. So giving heroes mobility that maybe they don't have, like Reinhardt, like Roadhog, McCree can also benefit a lot from this. And even heroes that have a lot of mobility already, like Genji or Winston, they just get enhanced by this and are able to stick to their targets, heroes that can have to dive into the backline and get out afterwards can benefit a lot from Lucio. And also not to count the area of effect heal that you have. So once you're in there, you can make sure that you're healing all of your teams against that chip damage, all that spam damage that is coming out in Overwatch. And he's just like really fine-tuned for that kind of job. And then, like you said, Sound Barrier is one of the best defensive ults in the game, just because it can prevent ultimates that happen over time, like Genji, like Graviton, like even a Moira ult, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So I think if we want to break this down, we got to talk about building ult and also crossfade, because swapping songs is the key crux that separates maybe bad Lucios from average and average to good, because the wall riding is what puts you from good to great, right? I would say that's pretty fair assessment.
I would say that's more of the
people off the ground first. Yeah, we want to get people off the ground before you get them to the ceiling.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one now. So with crossfading, a lot of things that I see a bad Lucio, an outright bad Lucio do, is he'll sit there, spam shift. I just triggered my sticky keys. Nice. See, bad Lucio will trigger sticky keys. I guess anyway, the problem with spamming shift is there is what I like to call latency, and it's not in the sense of the amount of time of pressing shift to the action being done in the same sense as it would be like a game, but it's more along the lines of the time it takes for you when you actually activate the ability for the ability to actually do something. So when you crossfade, there is a little interim of time where no healing or no speed is given. It's just 0.
0.8 seconds.
Is that what it is? Oh yeah, it's on here. Yeah, crossfade, 0.8 seconds animation. That animation, the entire time you're animating, you do nothing. No speed, no heals, nothing.
That's almost a second of not doing anything, which in Overwatch time
is a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the biggest thing with crossfading is you have to ask yourself a set of questions. Are we pushing in as a team? Does my team need the speed to move in? If you're trying to pull out, does my team need the speed to pull out? Or would healing them be a better choice? Whenever you're crossfading, you have to think not just about yourself, but you have to think about the other 5 people on your team. And even then, the other 6 people on the enemy team, because, like, you know, you could sit there spamming it, but you're mostly just going to get dead air at that point. You really have to decide, you know, yeah, you can switch it up occasionally, you know, a couple seconds. You know, you might need immediate speed.
Halvesies.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there might be a point where you need to, you know, quickly get away from somebody yourself, so you tap it,
Sure.
you know, speed away, tap back on, fine. And that's fine to do that occasionally, and that's okay. But in a team fight, your other teammates got to be paying attention to that, and they're going to realize, wait, my speed just kicked on for some reason. It's going to make them think, and it's going to throw them off. You really just want to kind of stick to a mix of the two in a fight, but you don't want to do too much mixing, but you also don't want to do too much of one thing. It's weird.
It's a fine balance, yeah.
Yeah,
Lucio,
very, very thin line.
Lucio also tends to be a hero. I mean, most supports are in general, but Lucio especially tends to be a hero where you have to do a lot of predictions, right? Because you have to choose the appropriate song for the appropriate situation, depending on what your team is trying to accomplish, on what the enemy team is trying to accomplish. And then you also have tools in your kit, like your boop, for example, that can put people out of position and put your team at a huge advantage, or even outright take heroes out of the map. But like you said, you have to rely a lot on your intuition and your game sense to be appropriate with your song choices. Because sometimes, let's talk about using healing versus speed, for example. Sometimes a beginner Lucio will see a Genji dashing towards them with his blade. And his first thing will be, oh, I gotta switch to my healing song and boost the healing so I can survive the Genji. But a more experienced Lucio might think, well, I'm just gonna stay on my speed, boost the speed of all my teammates, maybe boop the Genji away, and I'm gonna deny all of the damage just by doing the speed instead.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of things that I do, or something that I do, and I see a lot of other really high tier Lucios do, is what they'll do is in the event of a blade, whether you have beat or not, that Genji's coming for you. Because he doesn't want you to drop it. He doesn't know if you have it, but he's going to not take the chance. So the best thing the thing I like to do is when he goes to slash me, after the slash is done, boop him away, put on speed, amp it, run away. He'll chase you, he'll kite, and likely he'll waste his ult trying to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
If, you know, even if I stall him for 2 seconds and then die, and he kills one more person, hey, I saved at least one person's life because 2 seconds is all you need to kill one more enemy, or one more teammate rather. So,
and especially if they miss the slash, then they're down for another second, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of specific situations where maybe like you see them and it triggers in your head, I need to speed boost right here? Like maybe certain cues that you see your Reinhardt or your Winston do that you're like, I need to speed right here.
Anytime Ryan has Shatter and he's right in front of the enemy Ryan, you know, they're peeking each other, you see each other, sure. And they're shield to shield. I like to tell my Ryan, hey, I'm going to speed you and go for the Shatter. We'll speed him past the shield, and he'll press Q, and enemy team is completely shattered.
Literally
like
shattered.
That reduces the like it helps that favor the shooter gig, right? And then it like pushes you into lowering their overall reaction time, and then on top of that, it compounds if they've got the ping. So you put yourself in a really big winning position in that way. This is something significantly less on LAN that you're not going to see to this extent. We saw this actually a lot with the Outlaws game against London Spitfire today when they sped in on the Sombra play because they were turtling up on that health pack. I feel like Spitfire did a much better job when they pushed in and just deleted everybody in the room because they did a different approach than Ryan Shatter. But that's just an example. If you guys are looking for this in OWL, you might even see Fraggy doing this for his team. I think that he attempted a couple of these during the Lijiang control point. So let's keep moving. This is going to actually be a little bit more interesting than I think other people, because what happens is Lucio is one of the rare cases where one of the activation keys that he has built into his kit is actually just an enhancement on an existing ability. This is not something you actually see very much in Overwatch, which is surprising in some ways, but like with Mercy, for example, she enables the damage. Genji enables, or not Genji, sorry. Zenyatta enables damage by putting a debuff or a buff on an ally. But what happens is Lucio is able to do that to himself and also to his allies that are around him. So why don't we talk a little bit about amp it up, going from the 30 to 70 for the speed, and then amping healing, or how do you find that marriage in that very short time spot where you can kind of swap on and off of both of those?
So in team fights where you're already on the point, the enemy's on the point with you, you guys are in a deep fight, that's when you can kind of just gauge whatever you need moment or second by second and say, okay, we need speed. Okay, now we need heals. Okay, now we need to amp heals, stuff like that. When you're in a team fight, your team and the enemy team are more focused on killing each other than you are, or than they will be on your heals. So that would be the time, mid-team fight. Obviously, don't be spamming it. Again, don't trigger your sticky keys. But that is the moment where you can say, okay, I can kind of make a judgment call second by second of what we need.
Let's talk about its effective use, because I think Amp It Up itself is an ability that requires really good timing on your part. And I see Lucio's all the time just using it way too early or way too late when it's just not useful anymore or not yet useful. Like on certain maps, coming right off the gate and speed boosting, sure, fine if you need to get to the point as quickly as possible, but sometimes that's not the correct choice. Sometimes just waiting right before your team is about to engage and speed boosting them then is a lot more effective. Also, choosing between amping up your speed boost versus amping up your heals, like you said, is a tough choice right there. Let's talk about when you personally like to amp it up.
Okay. So if even one of my teammates is low and critically low, and then another teammate's maybe halfway, I'll call it out. I'll say, okay, get close to me. I'm going to amp it up. I'll count it down, amp it up, resume fight. That is actually one of the easiest ways to get more value out of amp it up, is calling out when you're doing it. You'll hear me, if you watch my stream, you'll hear me all the time. I say amping heals, I'll call it out, 3, 2, 1, amping heals, whatever. People know that if you're going to amp heals and they need healing, they're going to get close to you, unless they're an idiot. They're going to get close to you.
and they can visibly see where they can stand to get the benefit.
Yep, right. And that's actually the best thing I like about that particular patch, is that I don't have to call out my position. I just have to say amping heals, and they'll come over, they'll get their heals, I'll get my ult charge, we'll all have a good time. And if I say amping speed, and I'll count it down, 3, 2, 1, let's go, we'll push. Everybody's in the circle at that point. Everybody knows what the plan is. We're going in, obviously, or getting out. So if you're communicating to your team will help you win. And I think that's one of the biggest things in Overwatch is communication. Little things like that.
Definitely. And I think that calling just when amping it up, you don't even have to call like what song you're in or anything like that, but just calling the second you're amping it up gives your team a huge advantage, because everybody loves the speed boost. Everybody loves the amp it up heal, right? And just being able to coordinate that, letting your team know that that's going to happen, sets them up for success, especially if you're trying to initiate a fight and your Lucio tells you, guys, I'm going to amp it up in 3, 2, 1. That's like bringing your team together. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows that you're going to have that speed boost. So it's just like opening the gates for your team right there.
Mm-hmm. And so another thing to do, and this goes back to switching songs, smashing that shift button. When you're amping up your heals, a good thing to do is at the end of amp it up, it's a long ability. So at the end of it, say into speed, and you press it again or let go of it for me. And instead of going out from heals to heals, you go out from heals to speed, so that after your team is fully healed up, you go immediately into speed. You go right back into combat, and that throws off a lot of other teams, I've noticed.
Oh yeah, so like the change in momentum, especially hit scan players really get thrown off by that kind of thing. Let's talk a little bit about that, between using amp it up exclusively on one song versus amping up and switching songs midway. Do you ever do that? Do you find it effective in certain situations, or it's just kind of a waste of the amp up?
So it's good to switch up mid amp. So, no, excuse me. As I said, a good thing to do with amp it up is to burst heal your teammates for like the first half, and then the second half charge in, spread out speed in, because the momentum change is going to throw off any hit scan player, even projectile players. It'll throw them off because they got to shoot where they're going, not where they are. So, and in other cases, okay, we need to speed out, but we're all really critically low, and we're ready to go back in. Switch off from speed onto heals. Just to get a quick burst of healing in, then go back to passive heals. You'll be ready to go back in maybe 2 seconds.
Right. And also one thing to note is that sometimes in this game, the momentum carries over quite well on a lot of heroes. So sometimes even giving speed for just a split second to your team can make a huge difference. Even like if you think of Genji or Winston, if they gain that speed boost right before they dash or they jump, they carry that momentum with them through the entire jump, increasing their mobility by quite a bit, even if you only speed boosted them for like half a second.
So a good example of this is on some maps, Roadhog and Reinhardt can't get to certain higher ground parts without that passive speed. Think about how much of a difference it is to have a Hog on high ground hooking people from below with the Reinhardt shield versus just having them on the ground where anybody can get them. It's a big difference. That little ability plays, it does a lot more than you might think.
It opens up the game basically to different possibilities and different maneuvers, different positions, different approaches, different disengages, all of these things. It overlaps with everything. It's a similar situation with how you look at how you utilize a Mei wall, because Mei wall can be put underneath anyone. And also ridden on the side by Lucio. So
absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about the wall ride before we get into all the boobs and everything, because wall ride is another one of those abilities that really sets Lucio's apart. Once you're able to master the wall ride, it opens up a huge room of possibilities for you, of positioning yourself, of reaching your teammates, of even flanking with Lucio. You can do it quite well with a wall ride. So let's talk a little bit about how you perfected your wall ride, how you went about learning it, and also some of the things that you can use with it.
Okay. So learning wall ride, the first thing I tell people, find a new jump key, or find an alternative jump key. I still have spacebar bound to jump on Lucio. On all my heroes, I do. Because it's habit, if I need to quickly jump, I'll tap spacebar. It's just muscle memory at that point. But the first, right after that, I say, okay, but you need to find an alternative, because you're not going to be spamming spacebar the entire time. No, that won't trigger your sticky keys, but it's not going to work very well. So, yeah, I always say, well, you can do the DSP stanky approach. You can go right-click or left-click, whatever you prefer. I can't do that. I either have a mix of tendonitis or carpal tunnel syndrome. I can't click that fast. It's just not something I can do. What I did realize that I could do, move my mouse punchy closer, is that I have scroll up and scroll down bound to jump. So all I have to do is roll my finger like this all the time.
So you rock it back and forth.
That's very easy in my hands. I can select my entire hand, switch fingers, doesn't matter. It's very easy to do. Now, generally Overwatch will not let you select more than 2 binds for an input, and then 1 controller bind. So what I did is in my mouse settings, in my configurable mouse, I set scroll up, and I set that to scroll down. So I have 2 scroll downs on a setting.
Oh, gotcha.
I have a little Lucio profile.
It's a little workaround there.
Yeah, that's a little cheap workaround. And what that'll let you do is you can scroll up or down for jumping. That'll let you roll your finger. It's very easy. It's very not stressful on your hands, and that's important with Lucio.
No, absolutely. And just to clarify, when you're using your scroll wheel to wall ride, so you jump into the wall by scrolling, and then you just keep moving it up and down as you do it, or do you have to find a certain timing for it?
There is a certain timing, and it's not very easy to. I mean, it's not like a hard set frame perfect timing. There's a little bit of leeway. But It's not something I can tell you. It's like a specific timing that I can tell you.
You
But I
have
can
to
tell
get a
you,
feel for it.
you get a feel for it very quickly if you use that. And the big thing is how do I put it? It's finding an input method that you like.
Right.
Okay.
Mm.
So you're not
I
like constantly spamming spacebar, which can sometimes be a little clunky.
it can not only be a little clunky. It's taking. Let's say you don't need spacebar at all. Let's say you have jump on scroll wheel and then also on right click to hold a wall because you still need a key to hold a wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, of course.
If you're just spamming spacebar with your thumb, that thumb could be doing another action. You could have anything bound anywhere from, let's see, F through K, or let's realistically F through J, or V through M on your keyboard. That's an input you could be doing with your thumb that isn't jumping. So
True.
that's something you might want to consider. Maybe that's your push to talk. I have it on my mouse, so that's one more thing I can do. But some people still like it on the keyboard.
If you don't mind me asking, if you're gonna bind your mouse wheel or your right click, for example, that means that you, like you said, you can rebind your spacebar. I have heard of some Lucio players, not just like high level players. I mean, this is just a diamond buddy of mine. He just says that he's got the boop to like spacebar. Because it helps him like almost like feel like you're disengaging a little bit more. It's definitely a more of a hard on purpose maneuver rather than something you just spam. It makes you think about it more on purpose, at least in his mental ascension, I guess you could say.
I've actually met somebody who has ultimate bound to spacebar, and that scares me.
Oh no!
But,
Oh gosh!
No,
yeah,
no bad fingers.
And some people I know, a lot of Lucio players actually put crossfade on spacebar, and that makes sense to me because that's a big thing you could hold down from any part of the keyboard. That makes sense. And the great thing about PC gaming in general is that you can have almost any input method you want, rebind it if you don't like it, and that's your thing. But it really comes down to efficiency. You have to ask yourself, if I put this there, number one, am I going to remember it's there? And number two, is it going to be as efficient or better there?
Yeah. Wise words. I could have said it better. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way and how you do the wall ride, what about using it? Because I think there's a fine line between going full DSP stanky and being more conservative and staying with your team, pushing with them, and then using the wall ride to get around as needed, like going into their backline with your Genji or Winston and coming back and forth like that. Because I think that you can get a little crazy with the wall ride sometimes, and especially Lucios who learn the ability to wall ride but are still kind of beginning to understand how to play Lucio with their team can sometimes get a little too crazy where they're like not even with their team, and at that point they're kind of a liability. Yeah, they're feeding, right? Or not
feeding.
Let's just be honest here. I've done it. Other Lucio players have done it. So let's stop avoiding that.
Wall riding is really fun, and you can really get carried away with it.
No, I'm a great example of this. I constantly have to keep my finger moving. I love the main reason I keep playing Lucio is because I love wall ride. It's a very fun ability.
It is very fun.
Bind wall ride to a fidget spinner.
Oh my god, no. But so whenever you decide as Lucio that you want to push, okay, let me scroll down on my document here. I actually typed up a good thing on this. If you're gonna wall ride and go in deep as Lucio, you want to go balls to the walls. You want to go all the way in as a solo, and you want to engage. You have to ask yourself a couple questions. Can my team survive this fight without my healing and my speed? Okay. Sometimes that is yes. Sometimes you might have an Ana or a Mercy with Valkyrie. Yeah, it might be possible. Okay. The target you're going for, is it valuable? Can you actually kill that target? Like, be honest with yourself. Sometimes, like, let's say it's Kusta on Zen on the enemy team. No, I'm not killing that target. I don't care if it's Zen. I don't care if I win that matchup 80-20. It's Kusta. I'm not beating him. Okay? And then, you got to keep going. Is the trade of my life for the enemy teammate worth it? And you have to ask yourself that in case you die. Sometimes it might be you might get them to 1 and then a teammate finishes them off, cool, but it's still 5-5. Can your team win 5-5? Finally,
this is important for every hero, by the way.
Yes, very especially important for heroes like Genji, Tracer, backline killer, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Winston. Actually, Winston's actually the bigger one, I'd say. Finally, you gotta ask yourself: do I have my ultimate? And if I die, will my team need it? Okay. And you have to kind of weigh it out, very quickly. You gotta answer these questions to yourself in like a second, okay? And figure out, if you have maybe if 2 of these are yeah, I'm probably gonna die, and my team might need the heals. Maybe I'd stay with my team. But if I can get the kill, and my team will survive without it, without my heals and without my speed for a split second, and I have beat. If I can get the kill, come back, beat in, speed in, that's a 1 fight. 8 times out of 10.
There's something interesting about this too, is I think when you approach interpreting what does wall ride do, I think what you want to understand is that wall ride actually gives you a slight speed boost when you leave the wall.
Yes.
And so it helps you get a little bit more maneuverability. Now, this is not something that has always been in the game. This is something that they instituted with a change of the revamp of Lucio. Got bugged, patched out, patched back in, was still bugged, didn't work, and then they patched it back in, and now it's fixed. So
yeah, I remember that.
it's a big botched ability, and they've been trying to balance Lucio forever. So basically, the reason that this is effective is because it helps you be surviving in the skill bracket rather than relying only upon your healing, your self-healing. So they lowered the self-healing on his abilities and make it more so that you have to dodge shots, you have to be more maneuverable, you have to have better positioning within the wall ride. But on top of that, Lucio, more than any other hero, I would say, benefits the team by simply staying alive and existing more than pretty much anything else. Because that's all Lucio is. He just exists. He moves people around. He moves himself around. And the dude's a freaking chauffeur taxi service. That's Lucio. Okay.
I love that the character himself fits so well with the personality that they give the character, because Lucio is that friend that everyone just having around. He's just fun and upbeat and makes everyone just feel warm and fuzzy. And it's oh, Lucio's here. Hell yeah, let's hang.
Yeah. Yeah. But the thing you have to think about with Lucio is his existence, period. Whether he's alive and speeding, alive and healing, he's doing something. Even if you're doing nothing, if you're putting nothing into the game, he's passively healing. That's something.
Right.
So even if you're not the greatest Lucio in the world, okay, I get it. We all have bad days, and some of us will just never have a good day. But you're doing something. You're actually doing something, even if you're doing nothing. And that's something to keep in mind. So if you can at least keep yourself alive and, throw in an amp here, speed there, and, occasional beats, you'll be fine. It's really just staying alive and staying with your team so that you're actually valuable.
Absolutely. And I think you really have to keep this in mind with Lucio when you're trying to get too aggressive, because with Lucio, especially once you get a hang for the wall ride, you can get almost anywhere. You're almost like a Genji level of mobility. Once you get good at that thing, you can get anywhere in the map, and you can get carried away with that. But for the most part with Lucio, you really want to be conscious of where your team is, what your team is trying to do, and hopefully you're enhancing everything that they're trying to do. Your Winston, your Genji, your Tracers, even your other healers, you can do so much for them by allowing them to outrun a ganker or a flanker and healing them while they heal you and just taking care of them. Lucio is a great babysitter and initiator.
Yeah.
And Lucio is deadly. As you guys like watching maybe some Outlaws games today, I know I'm a little bit of a biased fan, but gosh dang, God bless Boink. This guy is an animal. Let's talk about the Sonic Amplifier not just bursting out heals, not just giving you a little bit more of a speed and a happy tune to go along with it, but rather punching your enemies into the wall with the shotgun blast, or even hitting people with a couple nice sweet dinks on the head with that 4-shot burst.
Mm-hmm. So, and I've looked into this in the past, but as a general guideline, Lucio and Genji do about the same amount of DPS as a pure, if we're talking pure number. I don't remember what the numbers were. I think Lucio actually does a little bit more, but they do the same, very similar DPS.
And honestly, their projectiles are very similar.
Very similar.
Yeah, Lucio's are like fat and big, and Genji's are very slim. But honestly, after you played both of the heroes for a while, transitioning from one and the other seems very seamless. At least in the shooting that they do. I've gone from Genji to Lucio, and it almost feels like you can kind of practice one with the other.
Yeah. So, and the other thing is, remember, Genji's a very semi-decent aerial hero. I wouldn't say aerial isn't Pharah levels, but, you know, he gets in the air.
He can fight
and
up
Lucio's, there. And Lucio's just about the same way, you know, provided there's a wall beside him. So, it's a very similar play style as far as shooting goes. But the general guideline of how to use his primary firearm is you want to lead where the target is going. You want to pretend that you're pulling them on a string. Okay? So just aim where they're going, not where they are. You know, try to get... And the big thing with Lucio's, or just Overwatch in general, the more damage you do, the faster your ult builds. Okay? So let's say, you know, you're hitting all 4 shots, maybe you get one that's a headshot, or maybe you only get 3, and maybe one's a headshot if you're lucky. You know, any damage that you do helps build up that beat just that much faster. And that much faster in a game like Overwatch is like that big of a difference.
Yeah.
So whenever you're amping, don't just stand there, you know. You see a Reinhardt with a shield down, shoot him. Roadhog, shoot him, you know. Big targets that are easier to hit are going to build up your ult faster. But the smaller targets, once you're skilled enough, those are going to get you the bigger value. Because if you can, let's say you shoot 3 times, you hit 12 shots, and then the rest are headshots. That's a lot of value on a squishy target. Okay? Like even something like, we'll say, Zarya's not squishy, but let's say Zarya, you know, that's quite a bit of her shields, you know?
Yeah.
And then from there...
I was going to say, you can sometimes one-shot with just, like, triple tapping them in the head.
Yep. Heroes like Tracer, you know, if you're skilled enough to you know, kill a Tracer, yeah. You 9 times out of 10, if you can hit them, you're probably going to kill them if they don't have recall. And
so can you talk a little bit about the duelist aspect of it? Because I know there's a little bit of a combo you can do with your shotgun blast, given that the hero can't just like use a mobility ability out of it, right?
I know that there's a combo, and I actually don't know it. So my thing about learning Lucio is that I didn't watch Hero Guide, I didn't study him. I played, I figured out what worked, what didn't. I went on from there. So like the little details, like I'm looking in this actual, like he sent me a copy of what our Lucio reference guide, and it basically tells you all the damage, all that. I don't know probably 3/4 of this.
It's just a wiki site.
It's
for the record, folks.
And I didn't read. I mean I read this. But, like, I didn't study this at the time.
It's too extensive to study. Yeah, and some of it may be out of date, too. But, like, the general combo from what I was reading was more of just, like, using the boop as a spacing tool and then also as helping you lead your shots into them. And if there's a wall or a corner, you can, in essence, you're getting a free pin. Like, you're basically aiming, you're putting them where you want them to be, and then you're predicting where the shots are going. That's the general quote-unquote combo. And then if you skate forward into that, it makes your shots landing easier, and then you can end it with melee, and you get a big burst of damage, similar to the whole combo you get with Genji with the dash, right click, like fan of shurikens into the melee cancel.
You know, see, when you said combo, I was thinking there's a particular combo on Tracer, even 200 HP targets that will kill them like instantly. and I don't know it. Nor am I. I mean, it'd be very rare to actually use it. I thought that's what you were talking about. But
Well,
yeah, no.
With Lucio, you can do like certain things like chaining your triple shot with a boop at the end for like a little burst of damage, for example, and you can even like put a melee in there afterwards if needed.
Yeah. The idea in theory it would be either triple headshot or quad headshot, punch then boop, because punch is a very close up thing. You wouldn't want to boop then punch. You wouldn't be able to hit the shot. But there's particular ones for every hero. I don't know them all.
There's a lot.
That's what nuanced too.
Yeah,
that's what I thought you guys were talking about. But yeah, a good easy way to like pick off somebody like a healer or like a squishy in general. CC them into a corner. Lead the shot lead the shot right after you boop them. They'll slide in there. The head. You'll likely if you know where the head is going to be. Try to aim for the head, get as many headshots as you can, mix it up with a punch boop, and then just keep wall riding above them. The main thing when you're dueling anybody, and I mean anybody, is you need to milk that wall ride. You need to use that to your every advantage. Because a grounded Lucio is not good. Like AD spam will get you only so far. So something to keep in mind is, keep close to the wall.
Free high ground, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. It's like having free high ground whenever you want.
Adding the element of verticality just makes you that much harder to shoot. It makes you that much more mobile. Not to mention the speed boost that you naturally get when you're riding up these walls. And the last thing I wanted to say about the boop, because we haven't talked about too much about the boop. Everybody knows the regular uses, right? You throw people into the abyss if there's a hole in the map. Very easy, but there's more advanced ways to use the boop than, especially if you watch the Overwatch League nowadays that Lucio is getting popular. You see a lot of creative ways. If you played Lucio Ball 2, you kind of have more of an idea of how the boop works. But basically, you can aim the boop somewhat, and you can boop people in many different directions. And I think that not a lot of people know this. Like, a good example is yesterday on King's Row. I think it was Dallas Fuel that did this. I can't, don't quote me on it. But basically, the Lucio just speed boosts towards the enemy Ryan and boops him from below, and just Ryan is standing on the ground. Like he didn't even need to be on high ground or anything, but you just aim up with the boop and boop him above, and then his own Ryan just shatters as the Ryan is flying through the air. Underneath the shield. And I thought that was such a creative way to use the boop in a team setting, right? In coordination with your team. Just to keep that in mind. Any other little examples you can think of using boops creatively like that?
So you keep in mind. Well, I actually do this all the time. But something to keep in mind with Lucio's boop is if you boop straight up, it's somewhat equivalent to a Doomfist uppercut.
Right.
The only difference is in a Doomfist uppercut, you can't DI, and I say that as a Smash term. You can't directionally input and put and move in that direction. You can't influence your direction in a Doomfist uppercut.
It's not like a Winston jump.
Yeah, with Lucio, if you boop straight up, they can veer off to the right, veer off to the left, whatever. And it really just stuff like that. But another good way to use it. How do I put it? So it's great. So another ult that it combos with great. Actually, two more. May ult, because if you see some heroes that are actually like really close to the edge, boop them back to the center. Get them back in there. Unless they're very quick enough to DI into your boop to get on the other side of the May ult, 9 times out of 10 they're going to stay in that center of the May ult. And then the other thing, and I pressure people to remember this, combo with D.Va ults, please.
Follow people trying to escape.
Yeah, no, follow people that are head around a corner, that are just not, that aren't even, they don't even have their hands on the keyboard. They're just waiting. They're waiting for D.Va ult to go off. Go in, boop them into the D.Va ult. Stuff like that. Even if you just get one pick, even if you trade one pick and you're dead, that was worth it.
And it's not only very effective to get the kill, it's also infuriating for the enemy team, which by putting it at
Yes.
That's
advantage
when
just
Genji's
because you
burn their
tilt
dash
them.
into that too.
Yes. Like if,
Oh,
you
that's
see
so
if you
good.
see a Genji burn his dash or a Tracer that recall to get full health, and you boop them into a Diva Bomb, they're pissed.
Oh, they're mad.
They're super mad.
Yeah.
All right. I think we got to cover one more ability, and then we can get into overall positioning engagement. So the sound barrier. How do you set this up? When do you use it?
Ah, okay. So there's a lot of things that come into play when you need to use sound barrier. Okay. Think about the enemy ult. Okay, let's say you're using it to neutralize an enemy ult. Okay. Visor, that's a very easy one. Is my ult worth that ult? And the next question would be, will this ult actually stop this ult? Both would be yes. It's worth it, and it will stop it. Okay. Something like Diva Bomb, it's very situational. While yes, it may stop it. You know, it may neutralize the ult and save the team. It may not be worth the trade necessarily, depending on the fight. If Diva just throws out a random bomb that's not going to hit anybody, I'm not going to press Q. You know, while it may, you know, if somebody's really close by and it may stop it, the enemy team might have a visor, a blade, you know, stuff like that waiting, you know, right after that. And they're going to know, oh, they just used beat. We can use this next fight. Or even this fight, you know, if it's an extended fight. But, and then, you know, as well, you have to keep in mind, you not just have to, you can't just also use it as a defensive ult. You can use beat offensively, like really offensively.
Right.
You know, great way to do this. I do it with colorblind all the time, and what we like to do is I'll beat, she'll ult, and I'll speed her in, and she'll just be an unstoppable tank, essentially. A very fast, hard to kill, like impossible to kill tank. You see a lot of people do this
Color
with
doesn't
Genji.
even have to do the trick where she heals herself going in.
Yeah,
She just like
no.
just nukes people.
Yeah, she doesn't have to heal between shots. She can just speed in, go all the way in. She can be touching people, and it doesn't make a difference. She's not gonna die.
Momentum with a rocket jump is unreal. Let me tell you, it is. Yeah. It is like Flight of the Conchords. I don't know how else to say it. It's insane.
Yeah, it's very scary, and a lot of people like to do this with Soldier, with Genji. You know, even something like High Noon. Okay, let's say you High Noon around a corner. The enemy's like, oh, he's around a corner. It's fine. Speed boost, beat. Even without a Ryan shield, you speed him around a corner, he'll be able to lock on like that. Okay. Whenever you're beating, you probably need to be speeding. In rare instances, will you be healing with beat drop on.
Sorry, that's like a great like motto for Lucio.
Yeah.
If you beat it, you speed it.
Oh no. All right. But
that concludes the show.
Thank you for coming, guys. That does it for the Lucio Going Deep.
Twitch.tv/RammyOW. See you guys tomorrow.
I'm here all week. Oh god.
But like, and the thing about, and the reason I say that is because with when using any ultimate, you need to cover as much ground as possible. Okay. And this also goes into Visor. This goes into High Noon, Blade. The more ground you can cover is the more kill potential you have, right? Because let's compare it to like a blading Genji to a speed boosted bladed Genji. That's a lot more kills.
Absolutely. And you really have to gauge it, right? Because when you're using the Lucio ult offensively, I mean, more than likely you're on attack. Using it offensively on defense is almost always a no-no. But using attack offensively is, like you said, you provide that extra padding, gives that extra amount of time for your Genji to go in with the blade without fearing getting immediately killed. Even heroes like McCree during Deadeye can really benefit from like that extra little padding. It gives them that extra second to just finish off and get that ult off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that used to be the strat. You would speed boost and sound barrier your McCree with Reinhardt. Yeah, just go in.
Sick.
It was
Sick.
pretty cool. It was pretty cool. But like I said, it's a fine line. You don't want to use it offensively if you think that your push is going to get stopped with another defensive ult very easily. Like if the Zenyatta has a Sen ult, maybe not committing your ult right there would be a good idea. Maybe just letting your Genji use his ult by itself or something and then use it in the next fight can be a better choice. And overall, it's a very defensive ult like you mentioned it before. So saving it for Genji Blade or a soldier visor is usually the best way to go. Saving it for those ults that take time to gain value out of the heroes, like a Zarya Graviton, for example, where you have to have them for a good 5 seconds in there to like really kill them. That can totally neglect this kind of hold. So you should be definitely watching out for that. It's kind of in the same vein as Zenyatta.
Yeah, and something to keep in mind, the great way to weigh it out is you have safe beats, very conservative ones, and then you have very, very risky beats. So, like, let's say
heavy metal beats, you might say.
Heavy metal beats, yeah. But, like, you gotta think about it. Like, if you know, and you'll probably know if the soldier has visor or if the Genji has blade, sometimes you're gonna make the decision to beat anyway. There might be a time where you need to initiate a fight. You got the last 10 seconds. You have to beat first or your team's not getting in. Beat speed, whatever you got to do. You have to kind of weigh it out and tell your team, hey, look, I'm going to beat, but that Genji's got blade after, you know.
Right.
Focus him down. There are ways to get around making a really bad beat. But it's a team, again, it's a team game. Your team has to cooperate with you, communicate with you. You got to communicate to them. It all plays into that, and you have to keep that in mind whenever you decide to either make, even if you make a good beat, you still got to communicate it. You know, okay, I'm going to beat for this Genji's blade, you know, before you go in, and when he blades, you beat, at least your team knows, rather than just questioning it. It's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I think we got to close out the show here. I wanna end on matchups and synergistic type picks, as well as things you want to avoid on Lucio, because that's the only thing we really haven't touched on. We generally ask our guests about positioning, how you maximize, minimize your movement on the heroes, how your map dependency may be a good thing or a bad thing, and then also engagement and disengages. But we covered that because it's innate in how Lucio plays. Positioning is how you utilize the abilities, and so we're going to skim over these and just go with matchups and synergies, and then we'll get out of here. So time is of the essence, but if you really want to make sure it's important, then you have as much time as you need.
Okay. So with Lucio, he's not always great. And I think I touched on that before. But essentially, like, he works alongside people more than he is countered. That being said, he can be countered. I personally think that Pharah is a very strong Lucio counter because she doesn't necessarily have to hit him; she just has to hit around him. So it's stuff like that. Junkrat, if you're a Lucio that's like moving around a lot, spam is probably going to do a lot of damage to you. Like if you don't just 80-80 spam or sit still, you're probably going to get hit by spam. I die to a lot of stupid Junkrat stuff. I probably shouldn't.
We all.
That's just because I can't sit. That's just because I can't sit still. Winston, against a very new Lucio can be very bad against a very new Lucio.
What do you think of guys like a good McCree? Because sometimes I feel like McCrees can definitely target the Lucios.
So I want to say it's a 70-30 in McCree's favor against Lucio. And the reason I say that is because, if you stay ranged, you won't get hit by flashbang. But at the same time, your projectile, he's hit scan.
Right.
You have to lead your shots.
Be favored.
This is going to be favored at a longer range. It's what you have to do when you're going up against McCree, because yes, McCree counters Lucio, is you have to get out his flashbang. You do that, you're fine. After you get out his flashbang, you need to get close to him, okay? You need to get closer than a flashbang is going to hit.
Yeah.
And then get in his face, boop him around, bully him. If you're moving around up close, that's a lot more arm movement that he has to do versus you far away. Because if he's far away, all he's got to do is just carefully guide his mouse at your head.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really, really close up, he's having to, with much lower sensitivities, he's really having to move his hand all over the screen. So
what about synergies?
Synergies, he works well with pretty much everybody. Some heroes he doesn't work well with. Obviously, Pharah, very aerial.
Yeah, Pharah seems to be like the one hero that gives a hard time in every way, right? Whether it's on his team or the other team.
Yeah, you would be correct in that one. As we talked about before, he is part of the dive meta. Winston Diva obviously worked very well with Lucio. Zenyatta works very well with Lucio in a very specific dive comp where you need extra damage and low heals. Mercy works fine with them. Nothing wrong there. Moira's all right. I think Ana would actually be one of the weaker ones, I would say. And I say that because Ana's, she can take a fight with the team, but she's kind of has to stay back a little bit, otherwise she's going to get killed. Same with Zen, but Zen's only weak in a non-dive situation. So, if you have Brian or Zarya on your team, I probably wouldn't be running a Zen, but you may also not need to run a Lucio. You might need to swap to Moira or Mercy, something like that.
Another hero that doesn't blend very well with him, and picking him when you have a Widowmaker on your team, for example, can sometimes be not as conducive. I think that heroes that like playing at really extreme ranges, like Widow or Pharah, just don't gel with Lucio very well. And that's not to say that you can't have a Lucio if your team has a Widowmaker in it. You can still be putting a lot of work in the front line, but it just means that as Lucio, you're never going to be paying attention to your Widow, because going back to heal her is just a no-no, right? You just can't afford that, leaving your team.
You can't run away from a team fight to heal one person.
Yeah, exactly. And none of your kit is conducive at that range. So basically, any of those heroes, you're just not gonna have as much of an impact as a Zen, for example, who just can just look behind and throw the healing orb on her.
And like I said, this is one of those times where maybe Zen isn't the problem, and maybe it's Lucio. If you have
maybe you're the problem, kid. Maybe you're the problem.
But if your DPS is Pharah or even Genji and Widow, okay, and your tanks are Ryan, Zarya, okay, and you have a Zen, and he's not swapping because he doesn't know how to play anything else, and that's okay. I get it. I can only play Lucio really well. You may have to swap, and that's okay. You just have to realize what Lucio can do and what he cannot do. Sometimes your own team composition is the best counter to Lucio. It's the best way I can
keep
put
that
it.
in mind.
Yeah.
I would say that there is a little bit of a scale as well into this. And you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if I'm playing Koth especially, or CP, and not necessarily payload, even hybrid on point 1, I love having Lucios when my team is really good at heroes that lack mobility. Your McCrees, your Reinhardts, your Zaryas, your Roadhogs. The less mobility innate in the kit, the more they're going to benefit from gaining mobility from Lucio.
Absolutely.
And those are the ones that have the highest gain, and it doesn't mean that other people can't gain, Soldier 76. It just means that he's just going to outrun you, so he can only utilize your stuff for so much. And then you have other people. Yeah, go ahead.
So no, I was actually just going to add on to that. Remember, if they don't have high mobility like Ryan or Zarya, that means they're compensating, or McCree, that means they're compensating somewhere else. So they have higher damage, higher health, stuff like that. But if you give them back that thing they're compensating for, they're
throw them over the edge. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You put them to the point of being overpowered. Yeah.
Yeah, as a McCree person, I love having a Lucio right next to me. Like a Lucio that's sticking with me, especially if you have a shield on top to top it all off. You just feel like you can stay there all day, and you're so hard to hit.
Okay, well, I think we got to wrap up. We will not likely have any time for our blue posts or even our user questions, although we are fairly certain that you've learned quite a bit to compensate for your questions. As I'm reading through them really quickly here, it looks like most of them are going to be there. But the blue post stuff here, what's going on the Blue Post? We don't really have time to dive into it, but I'll just reference them. There is a new player distribution for competitive mode. 8% in bronze, 21 in silver, 32 in gold, 25 plat, 10 in diamond, 3 in masters, and 1 in grandmaster. Furthermore, we have a brand new 2.0 forums. You can read more about that there, but there is a very slick new filter that you can click on. Super easy to find. You just want to look at all the Blue Posts. You want to look at anything that Jeff Kaplan, Scott Mercer, any of the developers said. You can click those tabs and read them in a very fast way. It's excellent. Last, there's a really fun teaser about the Hero 27 within the Twitter post and a confirmation that this is indeed a Hero teaser from Jeff Kaplan on the forums.
Ooh.
And also, I put a follow-up to the Hanzo update. It is currently in the artist and the sound engineer's hands before it hits PTR.
Ooh,
so it sounds like they have whatever's coming
then.
next for Hanzo next on the PTR will be coming soon. So look forward to that. Competitive mode should be concluding this weekend right after our game night. I believe it's only going to be one more day, so somewhere between Saturday and early morning Sunday in the US time zone will be when the competitive mode for season 8 concludes. Good luck in your games. I got mega salty today because I lost a bunch of rounds. Back down into gold yet again, sadly. Cannot seem to maintain platinum this season for whatever reason, even though I'm playing really well and really enjoying Moira again.
It seems like they've shifted down the distribution, though, based on what the stats that you just told me, though.
Yeah, I definitely feel the overpopulation within gold and plat, especially at the bridge between the two. I feel like the overpopulation gives me such a huge spread in games. It just feels abysmal. So I hope that there's some sort of even distribution more so than anything, but we'll get there. We'll get there. I have faith. The system's still pretty tentative, from what I understand. There's probably more stuff coming in the future. We also have one iTunes review from Black Jackins from the US. Thank you so much for your iTunes reviews. The best way to support the show is to leave us a 5-star iTunes review. Helps us understand that you like the show, helps us reach out and connect with you a little bit, and also helps us know what we can improve on the show if it's not 5 stars. And also, anybody else that wants to find the show, boom, they can find a great review from you. If you like the show, they can say, hey, this is what I liked about it, and they get a quick synopsis as to what they can look to expect from the show, as well as improve our search results on iTunes and help people find us. In addition, we always mentioned our Patreon sponsors at the top of the show, but there are many other ways you can support as a non-sponsor. Just giving us a cup of coffee a month, kind of a deal. $1 an episode is kind of our baseline there, but you can donate as much or as little as you'd like per show, and you can even cap it if you like. It's a great monetary way to support creators like us and kind of connect with us a little bit more. You got some cool roles in our Discord as well. I think that's going to do it. We're also affiliates on Twitch, and I know if you go find Rammy stream, he is a partner, so you can go.
No,
you're not a partner yet?
I'm an affiliate, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
On her way to partner.
I put in a partner app, I put in a partner app.
Okay. So here's what needs to happen. I need you all to go tune into her stream, go find Rammy, say, hey, I heard you about from Omnic Lab, and hit the sub button, and maybe, just maybe, our favorite creator will get out of this business of being an affiliate and be a partner. So good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that's another way you can support us. You can support Rammy and her endeavors in Twitch and also in booping people into the pit, as they say. But let's hear from Rammy. Where can people find you if they're looking for you on the interwebs? Where's your stream? Where's your Twitter?
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rammy_OW. You want to talk to me on Twitter? That's cool. Twitter.com/RammyOW, no underscore. I'm mostly on Discord 90% of the time. If you want to talk to me, you go to my Twitch, there's a Discord link, Discord commanded chat. Come talk to me. It'd be fun. I got a nice personal Discord where we can all hang out. And there's lots of nice people in there. And hey, sometimes we do giveaways, so a little bit of incentive there.
Absolutely. If you want to find Andres, where can people find you?
If you personally want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at iPlayGames. You spell that IPLAI Games. And you can also find me discussing Overwatch League over at the Owl Recap, the sister podcast that we do covering all the news, matches, and results.
If you guys want to find me, I'm on Twitter and Instagram with the tag NotRob. I had a pretty fun time this week on Instagram. My wife got a really funny little plushie over there. And I drank some peach Coke. It's the weirdest thing I've ever had.
Whoa.
Coke.
Do not
Interesting.
recommend.
That
But
sounds like
it
a
wasn't
Georgia
Momonoseki-
thing.
Oh,
Yeah, it's Momonoseki, which is basically Girls' Day, or I don't know what the Japanese translation is. Peach Festival.
Oh, there you go.
It's kind of weird. It's kind of an overlap. It's really, really strange. So they have tons of seasonal stuff, and that's one of them. If you guys like Hearthstone, my co-host will be performing a new show this week. We're going to be talking about the big movers and shakers within card pools if you're looking for the new rotation year in Standard. I've submitted a couple clips. You'll be able to catch that soon. It's called Velen's Chosen, velenchosen.com. If you like Hearthstone, you like lore, you like strategy, a little bit more relaxed over there, but it is a fun time. You can find us over there at Velen's Chosen. Thanks so much for tuning in to Omnic Lab episode 92. Rammy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
it's been actually my pleasure. I had a great time doing this.
Awesome.
Oh, that makes us
Thank
really
you for
happy.
having me.
Absolutely. And remember, don't be a lab rat, be a scientist. And what was our tag name for? If you beat it, speed it. See you guys next time.
No.
Oh, that's great. See you
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye.
Thanks, guys, in the chat. Appreciate it. All the Rammy subs, all the Rammy followers. You guys are great.
Beat it speedily. Oh my god.
I personally think that great motto. They should put that on your stream title next time.
You know what? I might
Speed
just
it.
do that. I might just do that today. I might just do that.
Oh, that's great.
Well,
Thanks,
if you have a
Bio.
Smurf
Thanks,
account,
Bob.
it's pretty
Thanks,
easy.
Felice.
Yeah.
Justin stopped by too. Arastix.
Game night tonight.
Game night
Any and all
tonight.
skill levels welcome.
Be there or be square.
Pretty much anytime, all day. Anybody can stream it. No problems. Come in the lobby. Punch me with your Lucios. It'll be a great time. I'll just zap you with Moira. 'Cause I can't aim.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.